Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Thanks so much for joining us here on a Monday edition of the BG Sports Show. We've had a great show so far, some great guests, great conversation, and now we get to bring in our Fight Corner expert, Connor Christensen, back to the program. It was a busy weekend in the UFC world. UFC 196 took place, and only Connor can do it justice by telling us how it all shook down. So, Connor, welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. So, I'm sure you probably were freaking out much more than I was because you appreciate the fights a little bit more than I did, but some big upsets, some big things. We'll get to that in a second. So walk us through the event that was UFC 196.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the main fight card for UFC 196 because let's face it, that's the part that you, the viewers, care about. All right. Moving forward, there was the first fight was versus Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh, okay. I've heard you talk about Shevchenko before. I think.
Yes, I have. I think only mentioned her one time before. Amanda Nunes is ranked 4th, I believe.
Wow.
Or she was before the fight, and Shevchenko was ranked 10th, I believe.
Okay.
And going into the fight, people were picking Nunes to be Nunes was the favorite. And Nunes did win by unanimous decision at the end.
Okay.
Shevchenko looked much more poised, looked much better, especially in the third round, but beginning of the first round, just with how they were posturing, Shevchenko knew the distance between the two of them extraordinarily well. I saw Nunes throw a wild kick, and Shevchenko didn't even move because it was not going to hit her, and she knew it wasn't going to hit her. So I thought that Shevchenko looked really, really good. It was just Nunes is much stronger and was much more aggressive.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if Shevchenko had been a little bit more aggressive, I actually think Shevchenko could have taken that fight. But Nunes did win, so she might be moving up towards a title shot eventually.
Okay. It's always weird about some of that stuff, too, when you hear about aggressiveness and fighting or not. I feel like if you're going into a fight, why wouldn't you be aggressive? But maybe that's just an outsider not knowing the fighting world very well.
Here's the reason why. Shevchenko is typically a Muay Thai background. And now Muay Thai fights, they start very slow. The first round is usually not much happens.
Okay.
And that's because the fighters are feeling each other out.
Sure.
And then rounds 2 through whatever are
then it's just kind of go
action-packed. Now they know who they're up against, what the strengths, weaknesses are, and then they fight each other. So that's kind of what Shevchenko is pushing for. Kind of leans more towards that. So that can work, but also if you aren't finishing the fights, then that will not work in the UFC because Nunes is picking up points by landing punches, taking takedowns, all sorts of other things that the judges will give her points for.
Sure.
And Shevchenko was not doing those things. She was maintaining her composure. She was fighting very well, but she was fighting cautiously. She was not going out there. She wasn't landing strikes, really. She wasn't taking down. She wasn't controlling the octagon. She wasn't doing other things like that.
She was letting the fight
points.
Yeah. I mean, she was letting the fight come to her, but not in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. She was way too reactive, not active herself.
That's going to get you hurt in this kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's not going to allow for many points scored. But Nunes won, so maybe she'll get a title fight in years to come. Probably not anytime soon.
Probably not. No.
That was a bantamweight division, so that is the division with Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, and Ronda Rousey. So unfortunately for them, there's a lot of very good competition.
Got to wait around, yeah.
Wow. So the second fight was a light heavyweight fight, Corey Anderson versus Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler is a veteran of the sport. He's 33 years old. He's been fighting for a long time. He has a lot of fights under his belt, and it was definitely, I don't want to say the favorite, but he's definitely the veteran presence going into it. Now Corey Anderson is 27.
Okay. Is that old? Just as a side note, what's an average age of a UFC fighter? Or an average lifespan of a UFC fighter?
So UFC fighters can enter the UFC from the time they're 20 to 22-ish. To all the way up until they're 37, 38.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering because with something like fighting, I don't know how long you'd want to stay in that.
The title holder of the light heavyweight division, Cormier, is 37.
Oh, wow.
And he holds the belt.
Wow.
So that's going to be a fight for April. John Jones versus Cormier.
That'll be fun. Okay.
That will be a phenomenal fight because they have so much animosity between the two of them. They've done a lot of interviews swearing at each other. And then John Jones was the champion, and then he had his title taken from him for off the field, court, so to speak. Yeah. So anyway, that'll be a conversation for a different day.
Huh.
But Corey Anderson beat Tom Lawler by unanimous decision, if I can talk. And I actually disagreed with that ruling. I thought that Tom Lawler not definitely, but I thought Tom Lawler was landing more strikes, was controlling the octagon more. He looked better than Anderson did, and I really thought that Lawler should have won the fight, but he almost finished it pretty much right away in the first round. He came out, he landed a shot that buckled Anderson, and then couldn't quite finish it. But so Corey Anderson is moving up. He lost a fight a little while ago, but now he's come back and he's won a couple fights.
Okay,
so
that's good rebounding.
So he looks like he might be making a comeback here. The third fight was also a light heavyweight. It was Guyan Vellante versus Ilir Latifi. And this fight also was settled in unanimous decision at the end, and Latifi managed the win last night. The fight was honestly pretty boring. Not much happened. They landed a couple strikes, but both of them looked tired and all sorts of, they have to work on their conditioning a little bit. Latifi is a wrestler, but didn't get a whole lot of chance to take it to the ground. So he, landed more strikes. I think he had a couple takedowns. He had about 3 takedowns in the fight. Significant takedowns, and then Vellante just couldn't keep up with the points, I guess.
Interesting.
But all around, those 3 fights were fairly boring. Not a whole lot happened.
Not much for your money's worth on that one.
Yeah, Latifi, Anderson, and Nunes were the 3 victors.
Okay.
So moving on to the co-main events.
Yes.
The first fight was Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Now, when I came in and I made my predictions, I thought that Holly Holm would retain her title.
Yes, you did make that.
Secretly, I was rooting for Miesha Tate. I think Miesha Tate is extraordinarily underrated.
We've heard about her on the show a couple times, yeah.
She's been getting better every single fight that she has. She was undefeated the 4 fights before that. She has not lost since, I think it was 2012.
Yeah.
So, since Ronda beat her. And I was really rooting for Tate. I really think it's Tate's time to shine. And to be honest, if Ronda right now, or Ronda in her prime versus Tate now, that would be a really, really good fight to watch. Holly Holm definitely won rounds 3 and 4.
Okay.
But in round 2, Tate took her down and grounded and pounded her for about 3 minutes straight.
Jeez.
Now, there were about 2 or 3 times where if Tate had been able to keep up the pressure, just if Holm hadn't been able to move just a little bit, the ref would have needed to stop the fight because Tate was just destroying her.
Which, is that surprising, though? Knowing the 2 fighters
absolutely
going in?
not. No? Absolutely not. Tate's ground game is phenomenal. She is great at ground and pound. She's great at submissions. Holly Holm is just fantastic stand-up fighter.
Sure.
Her boxing and kickboxing background.
And we saw her try to launch a few hits, too, but with kicks as well.
Definitely. So she landed way more shots than Tate did, but the damage that Tate did on the ground is what clinched it. So in the 5th and final round, there was, I think, 2 minutes or 1:30 to go left, and Tate took her down. She had been very aggressive in rounds 4 and 5, especially with her takedown attempts. For the most part, Holm had stuffed them, but she got 1 takedown in the 5th and was able to mount her back and slipped rear naked choke. So she got basically a headlock underneath the neck and was cutting off air circulation. It's the go-to submission for a lot of people, although it was Tate's first win by
submission?
No, by rear naked choke.
Rear naked choke.
She has done a lot of arm bars, a lot of other things,
right,
but never a rear naked choke. And Holm almost threw her off. She threw her over her the front side of her body. She tried to throw her over, and somehow, I do not know how, Tate held on, took her down with her, and then kept the choke. And Holly Holm did not tap out. She was knocked unconscious. She was. Oh man, it was so interesting to see because she's first trying to pry the arm off. Yeah. And then you can tell that she does not know where she is, and she just starts boxing with the air. So she just threw 3 punches and then her arms dropped.
Oh geez.
And then the fight was ended.
And the ref just called it at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was out. So Holm went out like a champ. Miesha Tate had nothing but great things to say about Holm at the end. And honestly, if she hadn't gotten that submission, if that had gone the distance, if that had gone to unanimous decision, Holm probably would have won that fight because the 5th round was going Holm's way.
Until that point where it flipped around kind of thing.
Yeah. So Holm definitely would have won the fight in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because the first round could have gone either way with who won it. And then the second round was definitely Tate won that run. And then 3 and 4 were definitely Holm.
Okay.
And if the fight had gone on, I think Holm would have won by decision, but Tate was able to clinch it at the end there.
Now, what does that mean then? I mean, because I asked you a couple of weeks ago, I said, what if Miesha Tate wins? Like, how does that make Ronda Rousey feel?
Okay, well, Dana White.
And now Miesha Tate has won.
Yeah, so Dana White texted Ronda telling her what happened, and Ronda said, well, it looks like I have to come back to work, which makes me extraordinarily excited because this is the matchup. Because Ronda Holm, well, the way Ronda was fighting at the time, she was fighting super sloppy. She was not in, her head wasn't in it, she wasn't in it. So I don't even know if I call that a fair fight.
She didn't look like she wanted to be in the ring, honestly,
or
the octagon.
She definitely did not. I think Ronda at her prime would have given Holm definitely a better fight.
Is Ronda past her prime? Are we past this point already?
Well, no, that's not what I mean.
You mean Holm at her prime?
No. What I mean by that was if Ronda's fighting seriously, if she is 100%, all of her mindset is in the fight.
Yes.
But she had so many other things going on. There was drama with the boyfriend who was still married or something like that. It was a whole big thing. He is no longer married, so they are.
I hope not.
They are together now, and he can be with her. But
the things you hear.
So there was that going on. She was doing movies. She was doing. She was fighting 3 times a year, 4 times a year, which is a ton of fighting.
Yeah, and considering.
So she was not. Physically, she wasn't in her peak. Mentally, she wasn't completely there. So I think that fight could have been a lot better if she had, kind of backed off. She wasn't traveling the world doing press. She wasn't doing movies, all of this stuff. And that's great. Do the movies, do the press, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she's good at what she does off the ring, court, octagon
off
thing.
The stage. I don't know, off the scene.
Wherever she is.
Yeah. She is a phenomenal speaker. She's great with people. She's very, very good at being a symbol for people to rally behind. And that is wonderful because I think that's great that that she is that role model for people.
Yeah, which is I think people really do look up to her, honestly.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I don't think that went away just because she lost the fight.
Yeah.
But Dana White said that the next defense will be Ronda Tate whenever Ronda comes back. Now, I know Holm wants it, but I don't think that...
So you got to get those two back at it again eventually.
Yeah. There will be a rematch for those two, I'm sure.
I hope so.
But for now, it's looking like Tate versus Ronda. Now that we've talked about the bantamweight title, Miesha Tate, great gal.
Love her.
We're going to move on to the fight of the hour, the McGregor-Diaz fight.
A very interesting, controversial fight that was set up because the original man, Jose Aldo, that was supposed to take on McGregor, couldn't because he broke his foot?
Yes, he broke his foot. So McGregor had strong words to say about that.
Nate Diaz stepped in, and folks are kind of like, why is Nate Diaz here? I think because he's lost a considerable amount of games, matches, fights, whatever.
Yeah, he has lost 10. He is 19-10 now from last night. Going into the fight, he was 18-10. So he has not won a ton of... Well, I mean, he has won a ton of fights, but he has also lost an equally number,
I think he's lost a little bit more fights than folks, like, if you're just looking at it on paper, it'd be like, well, this shouldn't be a close fight. McGregor's undefeated.
Well, I mean, that being said, Diaz is the real deal. He has overcome much to be a fighter, and he is brutal in the octagon. He's a fantastic fighter, not taking anything away from him
of course.
Going into it, but I thought it would be no matchup. Like McGregor would just beat him outright, and that was not the case. Diaz came out and in the second round popped him, and McGregor was stunned.
Tapped, didn't he?
He did tap, but Diaz popped him, got him twice. It was the left that really, really stunned him, and then McGregor was on the run the rest of the time. Eventually, gave up his back, and Diaz got a rear naked choke, and McGregor tapped.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, Diaz did not win that fight.
No? He won, but he didn't win.
He won on paper.
Yeah.
He won on paper. But McGregor was the better fighter. He was faster. He was stronger. He landed way more shots. He bloodied Diaz.
Yeah, we saw him. He looked beat up. He didn't look good.
He was stunned several times. If McGregor had just gone in and finished it, then, obviously McGregor would have won.
Why didn't he then?
Because he was toying with him. You could see it.
Why toy?
He would have his hands up like he's fighting, and then he would just drop his hands and walk towards him. I saw him stick out his chin at Diaz a couple times. And the fight started, and he started doing that, and I was like, no, keep your hands up,
Yeah.
Because you cannot do that in the UFC, especially against a guy like Diaz, who is so dangerous, even when he's bloodied and everything. So McGregor served that fight up on a silver platter for Diaz. Do I think McGregor can come back and take the belt and all of that stuff in 3 weight classes?
Sure.
Yes, I do. He is an animal.
Oh, absolutely.
If any of you don't know what he looks like, go look at a comparison from when he's 145 to when he's 170. Mm-hmm. He is huge.
He's a big
massive.
guy
He
now,
looks like a beast at 170.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept his speed. He kept his timing. He upped his power.
Yeah.
There was nothing bad about him besides his overconfidence.
Yeah. And that sometimes is the downfall of people.
Wow. So I hope he stays at 170 to make another shot of it here. I know he's got a couple guys at 145 that want a title shot. So I could potentially see him coming back and fighting at 145. And I know he still wants a shot at that 155 belt with Dos Anjos. And that will be, personally, I think Dos Anjos is a better fighter than Diaz. So, like, pound for pound, I think Dos Anjos is definitely a better fighter.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
If I could talk to Mr. McGregor right now, I would tell him, obviously he's not going to be discouraged, but don't be discouraged. You were the better fighter. You just got to keep your hands up and don't go into it thinking that you've won. You have to fight first.
Exactly. You have to earn the fight. It's great that you get on the ice. Wow, on the. I'm mixing up everything today.
It's all good.
Ice, rings, fields, court, wherever the heck that they do the fighting. It's great that he did that, but at the same time, you can't be overconfident. You gotta. Every game, every match, anything that you do in the sports world, anything can happen, regardless. If you're 100-0 and the team you're playing is 0-100.
Yeah. Pound for pound, McGregor is still the best fighter in the UFC, besides maybe Demetrius Johnson. That would be an interesting comparison, because Demetrius Johnson is a strawweight 125, and I think he might be a better fighter than McGregor. But
interesting.
McGregor, he definitely could hold 3 belts at once. I don't think that's out of the picture yet.
He's probably going to try.
Oh, I would think so.
Why not?
He was definitely the better fighter than Diaz. Yeah. And that breaks my heart that he gave that fight to Diaz. He gave it to him. Oh, man, I was so mad. I was so mad about it. I'm not mad that he lost. I'm mad that he gave it to him.
Because
he could have won at least 4 or 5 different spots that I remember off the top of my head. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
All right. Well, Connor, thank you so much for taking the time today, sir. As more fighting news emerges, especially if we hear about Ronda and that possible matchup coming up, we'll make sure to have you back on. And as always, you can hear Connor's Fight Corners here on Mondays on the BG Sports Show and his fitness tips on Thursdays as well. So, all right, Connor, you enjoy your week, sir, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
All right, sounds good.
We'll be right back with more on the BG Sports Show.